What's happening, everybody? Justin, Bridgewater's finest on YouTube, Blockbuster_guy on Twitter, and welcome to week 4 of my weekly NFL Picks show for the 2014-2015 NFL season. Entering week 4 means entering the dreaded bye-week hell in fantasy football. I know I'm having trouble with it in a couple of my leagues. And it also means we only have 13 games on the schedule for week 4, but we're going to go through them. Nothing changes. It's just a little bit shorter with fewer games. So let's go through. I'm going to take you through my results in week 3, of course, before we go through to the picks in week 4. Week 3 results, starting with the big 3 against the spread. I evened out perfectly in week 3. I had 1 correct, I had 1 incorrect, and I had 1 that went for my second push of the season. Last week on the big 3 against the spread, I told you to take San Diego plus 2.5. That one worked out, a big win there for the Chargers. I told you to take Baltimore minus 2 against Cleveland. They won that game by exactly 2, 23-21, so I pushed on that one. I also told you to take Philadelphia minus 6.5. The Redskins put up a better fight than I thought they would, so that one did not work out. So 1-1-1 in week 3. On the season with the big 3 against the spread, I am 4-4-1. And overall against the spread in week 3, I went 8-7-1 for a mark of 24-22-2 on the season. Taking a look at how my platinum, gold, silver, and bronze straight-up picks did in week 3, took a step in the right direction. I went 3-1, which is helpful since I had gone 2-2 in the first 2 weeks each. So we're going to start with the bronze pick, was that aforementioned Baltimore-Cleveland game. I told you I was taking Baltimore. That worked out, again, 23-21. The Ravens pull out a last-second field goal win off the foot of Justin Tucker, and happily, they have a new star running back, it seems. Taliaferro kind of broke out of nowhere, touching the ball 18 times for 91 yards and a touchdown. That's going to make that situation very interesting when Bernard Pierce comes back, because Taliaferro, arguably a better runner. But if this game proved anything to me, it proved I got to stop hating on the Cleveland Browns. You know what? The Cleveland Browns are for real. They've got an interesting quarterback situation there between Hoyer and Manziel. That trick play garbage was ridiculous, but they've got something there at quarterback. They've got something at the running back position, especially once Josh Gordon comes back. They're going to have something there at wide receiver. They've got something at defense. This Cleveland Browns team, I got to stop hating on them because they are for real. As a matter of fact, I have to very quickly shout out Charles Darwin in the comments section, not that Charles Darwin, the comments section of my week 3 video, who's actually predicting the Browns to win that division. It's pretty ballsy. For my silver pick, I told you to take Indianapolis to beat Jacksonville, who didn't see this coming. 44-17, the Colts roll over the Jaguars. The Jags finally played Blake Bortles. I've been talking about it all season. They finally put Blake Bortles in once they got down 30-0. The line on Blake Bortles, 14 of 24, 223 yards with 2 touchdowns, 2 picks, also added 30 yards on the ground. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, Blake Bortles should get a shot at being this team's full-time starter because it's the Jags. What have you got to lose? For my gold pick, I told you to take the Houston Texans to beat the Giants. That was my one pick that did not work out this week. The Giants finally break through with a good performance, winning that game 30-17. The Texans decided late game, it was a game-time decision to sit Arian Foster, who finally looks like he might be falling apart due to overwork. They put up 119 yards rushing, but 34 of those were from the quarterback Ryan Fitzpatrick, who also threw 3 interceptions to that Giants secondary. And you know what? I got to give it up to the Giants. Eli Manning played a clean game. Couple of touchdown passes, no picks. He played about as well right now, I think, as his confidence level would allow him to play. But he played a clean game. He didn't make very many mistakes, if any at all. And you know what? The Giants came through. As a side note, if there's any way at all that you can get Rashad Jennings in fantasy, get Rashad Jennings in fantasy. He might be the only fantasy running back right now putting up really, really good, consistent numbers. And for the platinum pick, I told you to take the Patriots of New England to beat the Raiders of Oakland. It worked out, but not nearly as comfortably as most people would have thought. The Patriots beat the Raiders 16-9. Tom Brady and the Patriots put up a sub-300-yard offensive game. The Patriots do not record a sack on defense, and the Raiders still only put up 9 points. welcome to Oakland and enjoy your stay. Still, I thought that game was going to be a runaway, so you know what? Either big ups to the Raiders for making it not a runaway, or I got a lot of questions for the Patriots. So again, I went 3-1 on my platinum, gold, silver, and bronze. Got the bronze, the silver, and the platinum. Missed the gold. And overall in week 3, straight up, I had another 10-6 week. That has me sitting at 29-19 straight up for the season. Taking a look at the Bridgewater's finest pick'em pool, I fell down the standings this week. We did pick up another one, so we're now at 34 teams. I currently sit tied for 23rd out of those 34 teams, with 245 of 408 possible confidence points for a clip of 60%. In week 3, I did pick up 95 out of 136 possible confidence points, a clip of 70%. It did hurt me that I missed my gold pick. That was 15 points. But our shout out goes to the week 3 winner, Fear the Falcon. Fear the Falcon had a great week, going 13-3 in week 3, raking in 116 of 136 possible confidence points. That's a clip of 85%. That's good stuff. However, our overall leader remains Too Easy par Deux. Too Easy par Deux on the season, 30 up, 18 down, so he's one better, one up, one down than I am, raking in 279 of 408 possible confidence points for a clip of 68%. We're still pretty tightly packed because we're only 3 weeks into the season, but somebody got to stop Too Easy here before it becomes too easy. But I'm just going to let that joke sit there like a long, lingering fart. I'll take this point in the show to remind everyone that if you go to the description of the video on YouTube, you'll be able to find all of my against the spread picks for week 4. You'll be able to find all of my results from week 3. You'll be able to find the information to get in on the Bridgewater's finest pick'em pool for season 3. And you will find links to other high-quality YouTube NFL prognosticators, all of which make slightly better to slightly worse, but definitely shorter videos than I do. All right, folks, that's the past. Let's focus on the future here. Week 4, here they come. We're going to start with the big 3 against the spread picks as we do every week. So my number 3 pick on the big 3 against the spread comes in the Carolina at Baltimore game. Baltimore favored by 3.5 points at home. Baltimore had a gutsy come-from-behind win in their Week 3 game in Cleveland, as we mentioned, where Carolina got pretty well run over last week by Pittsburgh. And with the realization of their new star Taliaferro at running back, the Ravens do have to be licking their chops at what the Steelers did last week to that Panthers run defense. The game's in Baltimore. You always have to take that into consideration. Baltimore is a different beast when they play at home. I do think last week's game was just a blip on the radar for the Panthers, kind of the same way that Atlanta's Week 2 game was just kind of a blip on the radar for them. I do think this game is going to be close. I think the fact that Baltimore is at home is probably enough to give them the win, but at the same time, I expect this game to be very, very close. I expect it to come down to the wire. In this game with two extremely similar looking teams, I actually think 3.5 points is too many. So I'm going to take the dog here. I'm going to take Carolina plus 3.5. Again, this is a game that they could win straight up. So I'm going to take Carolina plus 3.5 in Baltimore. My number 2 play on the big 3 against the spread this week comes in the New Orleans at Dallas game. Dallas is a 3-point dog at home. Cowboys had a gutsy come-from-behind win in Week 3, beating the Rams 34-31, while New Orleans finally looked a little bit like a team, and that defense kind of looked okay against the Adrian Peterson-less Vikings, beating them 20-9. While I don't think that 20-9 victory against the Vikings without Adrian Peterson is a signal that the Saints are finally back and Drew Brees is the second coming, it was good to see that New Orleans defense, which I rated very highly coming into the season, it was good to see them finally keep an opponent to less than 10 points. Meanwhile, we look at Dallas, and I think that's a team that has been criminally underrated all season. I think people look at Dallas, look at Tony Romo, and go, LOL Romo, and just completely underestimate the Cowboys. I think they're a better team than most people give them credit for. They're not a great team, but I think they're better than people think. But like a big league power hitter with a 3-0 count sitting on a fastball down the pipe, I'm sitting on New Orleans breaking out. So with that in mind, even though they are on the road, I'm going to take the Saints -3 in this game. Dallas still has their problems on defense, and if that New Orleans defense is kind of starting to come together, I think they can exploit Romo. Again, Romo's not a great quarterback, but I think he is a little underrated. I think the Saints are going to be able to exploit that. I think the Saints are going to be able to pass all day on this Cowboys secondary. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take New Orleans -3 at Dallas for the number 2 play on the Big 3 against the spread. And my top play on the Big 3 against the spread this week comes in the Atlanta at Minnesota game. Minnesota are 2.5-point dogs at home. The only reason that I can think that this game is so close on the spread, 2.5 points, it's not very much, is because Atlanta's one road game this year was awful. My concerns with Minnesota come on the offense, and it's not just because Adrian Peterson's not there. The Vikings are going to have to turn to Teddy Bridgewater full time, and I haven't seen enough from Teddy Bridgewater to say, oh yeah, that's fantastic. I'm glad he's in there instead of Matt Castle. Even though I got to give him credit, he's got a pretty sweet last name. The Vikings' run game is obviously not where they want it to be. The Vikings' pass game is obviously not going to be where they want it to be. And coming up against the Falcons, who are legit and proved that that Week 2 game was just kind of a blip on the radar, I mean, 2.5 points is nothing. This does have the potential to possibly be a blowout, so I'm going to take Atlanta -2.5 points in Minnesota as my top play on the Big 3 against the spread. Sorry, Gio. You're welcome, Chris. And now let's take a look at the platinum, gold, silver, and bronze picks for Week 4 in the NFL. We're going to start with the bronze pick where I am 2-1, and I put this on Twitter a couple of days ago. Heaven help me, I'm going to continue my streak of touching on games that I really have no business touching on. We're going to go with, for the bronze pick, the Washington Redskins at home to the New York Giants. So the Giants proved that they're capable of winning a game. That's great. And they put up 30 points on a defense that's actually pretty damn good. Now the Giants hit the road to go to a divisional rival with a defense that is not very good, who lost one of their starting cornerbacks, which only makes them that much worse. We take a look at them on the offensive side of the ball, and ever since they turned to Kirk Cousins to replace RG3 with his injury, that Washington offense has looked good. And the Giants have only shown in 1 of 3 games this year that they have a defense that would be suitable to play junior varsity. I think the fact that they're at home gives the Redskins a little bit of an edge here, and I need to see more than once the Giants actually play like they have a team. While I think this is going to be an offensive shootout, I like Kirk Cousins and the playmakers on that Redskins team just a little bit better than I do the Giants. So for my bronze pick, I'm going to take the Redskins at home to beat the New York Giants. You're welcome, tweeter. For my silver pick, I'm going with the aforementioned Atlanta at Minnesota game. Not going to talk any more about it. I do honestly think the Falcons are going to go into Minnesota and pick up a huge win. So I'm going to take the Falcons on the road to beat Minnesota, and that's the silver pick. Moving to the gold pick, where I am unfortunately 1-2 on the season with my loss last week. The game I'm featuring for the gold pick is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers traveling to Pittsburgh to play the Steelers. The Steelers are coming off of a dominant 18-point win, embarrassing Carolina on Sunday night. Whereas the Bucs are coming off of being embarrassed on Thursday Night Football, giving up 56 points to the Falcons. Now, all is not sunshine and rainbows for the Steelers. More injuries on both sides of the ball, leading them to having James Harrison re-sign with the Steelers for the season. And here's my question for you that I want you to answer in the comments section below. What's your opinion of the James Harrison quote-unquote situation? With all the domestic violence issues that have been happening in the NFL, the Steelers turn and bring a guy out of retirement who retired as a Steeler, who has had a history of allegations with domestic violence. So if you want to take that angle on it, great. Or just, what do you think of them trying to bring James Harrison back out of retirement? Do you think it's a good move on the football field for the Steelers? So while I don't necessarily think this game is going to be a runaway like it really was for Pittsburgh last week, I mean, Tampa Bay just looked awful. Just looked awful on Thursday Night Football. Yeah, they have a longer week this week, but good God, I mean, they just looked terrible, and the Falcons destroyed them. Well, the Pittsburgh Steelers have all the weapons on offense that they need to also destroy Tampa Bay, whose defense is just plummeting down the rankings, well, my personal rankings anyway. So I'm going to take Pittsburgh at home to beat the Bucks, and that's the gold pick. And taking a look at the platinum pick, where I am 2-1 this season, we're looking at the Indianapolis Colts playing host to the Tennessee Titans. It's kind of the same situation as the last game. The Colts are coming off that aforementioned 44-17 drubbing of the worst team in football, the Jacksonville Jaguars, whereas the Titans are coming off of a 33-7 defeat, a drubbing at the hands of one of the best teams in football, Cincinnati. And as a side note, that's a good second question to ask in the comment section this week. Who do you think is the best team in football, the best overall team in football? Don't necessarily make it your favorite team, but the team that's playing the best right now. Who do you think at this moment, right now, week 4, 2014, who is the best team in football? If you've watched my videos this season and last, you know that I'm not a believer in the Tennessee Titans. Meanwhile, Indianapolis is not without their problems, but at the same time, look at who they've got behind center. And who they've got catching the ball. And who they've got running the ball. Except for Trent Richardson, who is, again, a complete fraud. I don't think Tennessee is going to do too much in terms of testing that possibly weak Colts defense. So I think Indy's going to run away with this thing, take them on the spread, take them straight up. Indianapolis rolls over Tennessee. That's the platinum pick. And now let's take a look at the rest of my straight up picks for week 4 in the NFL 2014. Here they are. That's the week 4 show for you folks. Comments, hate, and love, you know where they go. Comment section below. And speaking of the comment section below, it's time for me to start a new segment on this show. Just a very brief one. I'm asking you guys, it seems like I'm asking you 1 or 2 questions to answer in the comment section below every week. So what I'm going to start doing now is a viewer comment of the week. And I'm starting in the best place possible. I'm starting with the guy who suggested that I do it. Hatbox Does Football. Hatbox on my week 3 video said, the Saints are a playoff team, but if they lose any 2 of the next 4 games, it's going to be tough to come back and try to outplay Atlanta or Carolina for the division or one of the last seeds. And have you ever thought of doing a comments section in your video? Like post the best ones or ones that you think are interesting, etc., etc. Well, Chris, I'm taking your advice like a good man should, and there we go. It's going to be the best comment of the week, the one that I choose every week, one that I think is either funny, insightful, whatever. I also mentioned the comment from Charles Darwin earlier, the ballsy pick of the Browns to win that division. That's it for me. Justin, Bridgewater's Finest on YouTube, Blockbuster_guy on Twitter. Remember, in the comments section, talk about the James Harrison re-signing in Pittsburgh, and talk about who you think is, right now, the best team in the NFL. We'll see you again for week 5.